Ryan, big release next week.
Mm.
Long awaited, oft delayed.
Yes.
Daniel Craig in his final turn as James Little Jimmy Bond. No Time to Die. Most famous at this point, I think, for Billie Eilish having done the theme song.
Meh.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying, because it's been so delayed. Okay, so Daniel Craig.
My
Rami
favorite
Malek.
Bond. My favorite Bond. Yeah.
Sure, we'll talk about that. Rami Malek, Léa Seydoux, Lashana Lynch, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, and Jeffrey Wright, Christoph Waltz, and Ralph Fiennes. The fifth, his fifth and last, Daniel Craig, starts off not retired, ends up retired.
Pretty quickly. Yeah.
Pretty quickly winds up retired. Then not quite as quickly winds up unretired. Right. Let's talk for a second about the director of this, Cary Joji Fukunaga.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the first big, like, mainstream film he's directed. Beast of No Nation.
Yep, which I love.
Important movie, but I mean, to Bond, I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's something we're used to seeing at this point. In that they probably kind of like Marvel does. They have a team that they trust, and they kind of build around that.
Yeah, I think part of it is that the Broccoli family still exercises a lot of control. However, that does not mean that the selection of a director is irrelevant or inconsequential.
No, of course.
So, I did you see it? You saw it today, as did I. Did you go to the mixed screening?
Yeah,
because I did not see you. Yeah, I didn't go to Atmos. I settled for Dolby 7.1 surround.
No, Atmos.
That's true. But you're an audiophile elitist. I'm sure it didn't make much of a difference.
It made all the difference, man.
Okay, it made all the difference.
3 stars difference at least. I mean.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. 3 stars difference. That means it must be like 30 stars if I'm going to give it what I'm going to give it. 2 hours, 43 minutes. Yeah. Rated PG-13 for what I didn't even count. You said 1 F-bomb.
Yeah, there's one.
So there's your there's the 13.
Well, and PG. I don't even know. Well, do you know why I noticed these things? Is because my mother is not a fan of.
Oh, right.
So
fair enough.
I guess. Anyway.
An actress I actually didn't know was in this, and I didn't already name off, as Ana de Armas. Is in this, and kind of like a really weird extended cameo.
All I'm gonna say is spin off, please.
Possibly.
Please. No, I don't. Just please.
Okay. A lot has been made of this film going in about the quote unquote new 007 versus the new James Bond, and we encounter that early. I consider it a non-factor the way this movie is put together.
Just a number.
It's literal. Yes, that line is used twice. It's just a number. And one time they mean it, and the second time they don't. But so I think that's handled really well. I think Lashana Lynch is really good as a 00. I like the way they work together on screen, chemistry wise, and as they work as the movie plays out.
Yeah. Although I would say it's not really a tag team event.
No, it is really not. I'll pass to you in a second. Let me just say though, this is again 2 hours and 43 minutes. I don't know how they could have made this shorter. I can't put my finger on anything. Yeah, I would cut that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed all 2 hours and 43 minutes of it.
Yeah, I think as far as like Bond time goes, Because
Right.
this, I mean, most Bond films do tend to be a little longer. And in this one, I suppose if you were to cut something, it would be uh, the Ana de Armas stuff,
Right.
which I would be terribly upset if they cut.
Right.
But so
And let
yeah,
me, and you know why they couldn't cut it? Because you were excellent. I love that he said that.
well,
You
yes,
were excellent. Not nice job.
no, it was
He literally, you were excellent. And I was like, holy shit, that's high. That's like the Pope blessing you.
well,
Because he works with a lot of agents.
sure, but let's be honest here. She kind of was.
She exactly. But he did not shy away from saying it. You were excellent, and yes, she was.
She
Three we-
kind of
For having
was,
3
guys.
weeks of training. Yeah,
Or was it 2? Yeah, 3 weeks. No, it was 3 weeks.
give or take, right?
Give or take.
Give or take.
Oh yeah.
But no, I don't know what I would have cut. I don't know how you felt about this. Some people might call it bloated, but I would say that they're wrong.
I think those there are people who will say it's bloated, and I think there are probably people who would call a lot of the Bond films in general bloated.
A lot. Some of them are. So
You know,
that's not an out of bounds comment. I don't think it applies here at all.
I didn't have issues with the time length.
No.
I could see how some people might, but I am not one of those mites.
Right. How did you feel about the what were some of your comments coming out of this bad boy then?
I don't think you can make this movie with any other actor's version of Bond. I think that I think that only this version, this character version, can have the film that exists here.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't see any other version of this of James Bond, going to places where this one goes.
Well,
there's a little bit of cliche, but
a little bit,
but
so first, let me say that Felix Leiter, honestly, I think he's died. It feels like more times than any of the women in the Bond movies, or he's almost died and motivated Bond to go do things because of that. Just a ton.
It's his job.
It kind of is. That was a really good, I hate to say that, it was a really good scene with Felix, his last scene. Jeffrey Wright's great.
If it is.
It's true. If it is. Because nothing, well, there's one thing we know for certain, but we're not going to spoil that. So.
What, James Bond will return?
Sure. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. Because I didn't stay through the credits.
Oh.
So we'll talk about that. Offline, we'll talk about that. But no, I think you're right. I think Daniel Craig's his Bond is best suited for this particular movie. You might have gotten away with it had they done these 5 movies with, and I hate to say it because people hate him. I think if Timothy Dalton had made the 5 movies, you might have gotten away with it. But
different.
Yeah, but this movie, it's because Craig's Bond has always been really, after Connery's, like the most, just the down to earthest, the grittiest, the dirtiest, the most practical Bond.
Well, and we, it's because what happened was the Bourne films came out and they were more of that gritty thing,
right?
And everyone went, oh, wait a minute. I wonder what Bond would be like if they went and did that.
It would be like the early Connery movies, but Craig is, but even Bond had a level of sophistication that Craig only adopts when he needs to, and I think that's the difference. Otherwise, he's just James Bond again. I think the big difference in this film is that this one is more about Bond the man versus Bond the agent.
Or yeah.
So,
or even the mission, really, to a certain
yeah,
extent.
it is. This is really about James Bond, not 007, which is part of the reason I don't think, or is part of the reason I think that the whole 007 issue is a non-factor, because he actually doesn't care.
Yeah, and that's exactly
because
what I
it's
would
not
say
about 007 at this point.
And I'm sure, yes, it's I don't really have anything I can compare it to directly, but I mean, it's obviously a mantle that he wore for quite some time, but
Right.
I think, as in sports or in other things where numbers are assigned, most of you don't get, you figure someone else is going to wear it at some point.
Yep. And they do make that sports reference snarkily.
Yeah.
But he, it's just a number. So I think that really helps. The action in this is probably as good as you're going to find in a Bond movie. I mean, pretty consistently.
Well, it's pretty brutal too. I mean, there's.
Well, but again, it's because, I mean, it's Craig's gritty Bond.
Yeah.
In a situation that is not about MI6 per se. So and that's the only other reason I think that maybe Dalton could have done it, because they kind of did that when they, in License to Kill, when he lost his license, and he just kind of went off the reservation. But it was still a cleaner movie, but I think that was more a function of the time.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
Necessarily.
So that's why I say Dalton. But
I Dalton was. When did Dalton start? He might have been my first Bond.
He probably. You might have caught the end of Moore.
I don't think so,
because he started with. Was it License to Kill? Was that his first one? I think it was.
I think he was my first Bond, though.
So
there's always going to be.
It's like who's your Doctor Who? Well, the first one you saw.
Yeah. So I mean, I do. That said, I still prefer Craig in about every way. But anyway.
Yeah. I'm old enough to where I think my first Bond was Moore, but it was early enough to where that I then saw Connery. So Connery obviously became my Bond. But I think Moore was the first one I saw. But yeah, it's still Connery. The action is at a level in this film that it's as action packed as any sequence that Tom Cruise has put in a Mission Impossible film, which I've already said the last 3 Mission Impossible films are one of the best 3 film arcs of an action film around. So I like the Mission Impossible films, but this No Time to Die, the action is on par with anything, but it is more realistic than the Mission Impossible stuff, because Mission Impossible, it's Bond, Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious in terms of ridiculousness in action.
There's a big jump.
There is a big jump even between Mission Impossible and Fast and Furious, but that's the scale.
It's a huge jump, but
it is a huge jump.
And
it's probably Bourne and then Bond pretty close, and then you go up a few steps and you get to Mission Impossible, and then you go off the scale for Fast and Furious. But but the action is great. The opening sequence. How about that elevator shaft sequence?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That was pretty cool, and I was like, oh, that felt like a Mission Impossible scene.
Yeah, it did. Well, the technology aspect.
Yes. Because it wasn't Bond using it, so it makes sense.
Yeah. At
that point, but I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. No, it was. And the thing about that scene that is incredibly cool is they don't explain it, and yet I think the majority of the audience could tell you exactly how it worked.
Yep. It was like, oh yeah, it's just this. As soon as they said it,
yeah.
It's like,
so I mean, it was like, yeah, okay. And that, and it's not like, well, that's ridiculous science. It's, I don't know, maybe that doesn't. Maybe we could do that.
Well, someone's got it at a small scale where they're dropping like 5 kilo weights or something.
They're trying.
And so it exists on a scale. I don't know if you could do what they do in the film, but it's just a matter of time Someone's
Anyway.
going to figure out that it's an elevator safety system or something.
But yeah,
Um,
but it's a really cool moment.
Yeah,
And it's almost a throwaway moment because it just kind of, yeah,
it
I
comes
mean,
and goes, and then it's
yeah,
over.
yeah.
And then there's the opening car chase sequence, which is in the trailer for the most part, with the Aston Martin.
You want to know something? I avoided every trailer.
I only saw it if I think I saw
Yeah.
one trailer, and I don't even think I saw the whole trailer because I didn't sit down to watch it. I think I just kind of caught pieces of it. I didn't
Yeah.
go out of my way to watch it. So no, I knew about the Power Brake 360 part, but everything else, like, I didn't know. And you couldn't help but see that motorcycle jump.
Well, that was pretty awesome though.
It was, but that was in the trailer, so it's like, oh, there it is,
Well,
there it is.
well,
It was so cool.
See, I hadn't seen the trailers, so
So there you go. But yeah, so I saw that one, but that was cool. The performances are really good considering we're in a James Bond movie. And I said I love Bond. I'm not trying to disparage Bond movie, but Bond movies are typically full of these archetypes.
sure.
And for the most part, the actors get beyond those to varying degrees, and so it's a much better viewing experience than, say, watching one of the older ones or even one of the Brosnan ones, where everyone is still just an archetype. They're just checking off the Bond boxes, the Bond boxes.
Yeah, I think Brosman's kind of hit the pinnacle of or hit the the low point, however you want to. With what's the one with Christmas in it or whatever?
Oh yes, Christmas Snow. With
anyways, yeah, that's I mean, when that's kind of for me the peak of the stupidity,
right?
Which is I think how we ended up getting the Bond that we have now. To be honest, too,
that they really did throw him back. This is the best of Craig's Bond movies.
I don't know about that.
Having watched the last two in the last 6 months just to play catch up, it's better than both of those.
I see, because I think
and my feelings on Casino Royale are mixed. Really? You think it's that good?
Oh, I love Casino Royale.
Really? Wow, that's interesting.
And
you're not wrong. All of his are good, but I came out of this. I was like, this.
I think, yeah. This is second or third for me.
Yeah, it is. This is high quality Bond. I don't think there's any there. I don't think there's going to be any argument about that.
I think somebody,
some idiot is going to argue that this is not top shelf Bond. This is top shelf Bond.
The negative world we live in.
Well, I have things written down that I know people are going to bring up, but I'm not going to mention them here because I don't want to dignify them. But I do have them. I do have them written down. But it's just the idiot talking points. But like I said, the 007 controversy is not a controversy.
No, not at all.
In this, it is a non-factor through the entirety of the film. It is a non-factor. So do not get hung up on the words 007, because it is a non-factor. Q is back.
Quite honestly, I don't know that it needed to be in there, but I don't care that it is. How's that?
Right. There you go. Q is back. I love Ben Wishaw's Q. I think he's a worthy successor to Cleese, who was a worthy successor to Desmond Llewellyn. I'm totally cool with that Q. Moneypenny's great. Ralph Fiennes is great. I was just happy. I'm just really happy with this top to bottom. I really, really am. So I did want to. How did you feel about Rami Malek's villain channeling Loki?
Well, I mean, I think it's the performance I expected, and to a certain extent, that is a little disappointing. But it wasn't bad.
No,
but I certainly don't think I mean.
But they cribbed his speech a little bit, or thematically.
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was fine. It's okay.
Now,
I don't, I don't know that I'm. He's not top 10 to me, but part of the thing about this film is that if anyone's just kind of playing a placeholder, it's him.
right, he's the Marvel villain.
He's well, and he's almost not. Yeah, well, yeah. I think that is not a bad way of putting it, but he's almost insignificant. Um, even there's other bad guys in this
I know.
that there's more tension with or whatnot. So I don't know. I mean, it's.
Would you consider Christoph Waltz's performance worthy of consideration for a Best Supporting Actor nomination?
It's so short, though.
It's happened.
Oh no, well, yes,
And
absolutely.
Judi Dench.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that has it happened. Yes, absolutely, it's happened.
And of course, his role feels even smaller because the movie is so long.
Yeah, and his it's hard because there is a part of me that says, look, this is a 5-part story, and his villain in that 5-part story is probably that he's the guy,
Yeah.
really. So,
and he's one of the better movie villains across
absolutely, yeah, sure,
his
sure.
film. So I don't think it will. I think you're right.
I don't know.
It's too short. That's why I asked.
I would just no, strange. I mean, is it impossible? Would I be incredibly upset? No, but I don't know that I would. I don't think I would vote for him, and it's not because his performance isn't good, but I think it's just that
It's just too short.
Yeah, too short.
Yeah, I don't think he has as much screen time as Ana de Armas.
I don't think he does.
I can understand your reticence, but I think his performance in this is just really exceptional for sitting in a chair.
Sure.
So,
well, that's all he does in this is he sits in places and talks.
Yes, but he talks really well.
And sometimes he actually talks to people, but
that is also true.
Sometimes he's talking to I'm not quite sure what.
Right. So we're gonna recommend this, right?
Oh, absolutely. No.
So
that's without question. No,
if you're a Bond person, you want to see it. Obviously, if you're a Craig person, you want to see it. And if you're an action movie person, I honestly think you can watch this if you're just an action movie person. I don't know that you have to have seen the 5 previous.
No,
it helps.
Yeah,
in little ways, but
I would say, yeah. I mean, yeah. I do think it's better if you kind of. I mean, I like the arc that's there, so I don't want. There's part of me. I don't want people to not consider this part of something much larger. But you could, you could, and I, I think you'd be okay. But I just, there's just certain things about this. The big story, the overall story,
right?
That I think makes it work better for me than.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this, since we both.
All right.
We're ready. We're doing it. Let me ask you this last question. So this was pushed back because of COVID, which is kind of applicable.
Yes, it is.
Or appropriate.
Sort of,
I should say.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, how do you feel about the epilogue, so to speak, when M reads what he thinks is an appropriate bit of literature at the end? Because I mean, today, if you take that quote and you read it today, it could be a terribly polarizing choice. it's totally appropriate for the scene in which they have it and the context in which they are using it. I am not saying that it is not. I am just saying that in light of everything else, do you think that some people might get upset about it? Or do you think some people might be like, yeah, that's what I've been saying? Because it, you know, I mean, because it's applicable in a general sense, but.
Yeah, but you can interpret it in a lot of different ways as well. So I didn't really, I thought it was kind of meh. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, I you know, if the only thing that these two people who had known each other for ages, and he has to turn to a book to put it into words how he felt about James Bond, it seems a little shallow, but that's me.
But that's just,
I don't know. That was my thought more than anything that he said. It was just that he had to turn to an external, you know, source to say what he needed to say, and that's fine. I'm sure there's that's accurate for certain people.
yeah.
But didn't get me riled up or anything.
Well, I didn't get me riled up. I heard it. I was just like, oh, that's it was just an interesting choice. Given the delays, they could have thought about it or changed it or anything.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have, you know, but they didn't, because it works for the film, and that's what it should be. But so much other stuff, of course, gets taken out of context or gets, you know, imparted meaning to it.
sure.
That isn't necessarily what they were shooting for off the top. So, I just wanted to see what you thought.
It didn't strike me as that.
It shouldn't be controversial, but again, it's one of those things that could not be controversial because it shouldn't be controversial, but it could have extra attention brought to it, depending on who wants to do it in a bad way and not just me pointing it out. Yeah, so No Time to Die opens October 8th. So next week.
For real.
For reals, for actual and for true. See it. You can only see it in the theaters. That is not day and date anywhere. So you have to go to the theaters to see it. So go to the theater and see it because it's totally worth it. 100%. It's definitely top 10 movies that I've seen this year. It's just in sheer enjoyability.
Sure.
And you know, and as I digest it, I might, you know, be able to focus that a little more. But like I said, I was just pleased top to bottom. Yeah, like I said, and I wasn't a huge Casino Royale. I liked his Bond. I didn't know that I necessarily liked Casino Royale. So no, I thought they saved his best for his last movie, in my opinion. And he went out with a bang. Daniel Craig did. So that's where I'm at. We are also going to be talking about we have a film from A24 that we're going to talk about called Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
I put the trailer up on Twitter, so you can go and watch the trailer for it. We're going to be talking about Venom, which opens Thursday night this week. We're going to be seeing that tomorrow, so we'll be talking about that. We might talk about The Addams Family 2, if you're an Addams Family and or animation fan. And Disney Plus has Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales just in time for Halloween, which we may or may not get to. We'll see. I have seen it, so we may or may not talk about it together, or I may do something else. But yeah, but that's coming out as well for Halloween. So we've got stuff in the pipeline. Next week, we might be seeing a period piece, The Last Duel, with Matt Damon and Adam Driver, and 100 other people apparently. So that should be a rollicking good time watching two guys battle to the death. So yeah, until we get to those, hang tight. We got more movies coming, and they're rolling them out for us. and that is a great thing. So until we get back to you, don't forget to like us, follow us on social media at VS Movie Podcast. Follow us on the website. Throw your email in there. It's vsmoviepodcast.com. Till we get back to you, I am Mark. That is Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.